Hey, what's up, guys? It's Cypher. Today, we are going to review Season 3 so far. I'm going to be talking to you about the pros and cons of the seasons, what I like, what I don't like. An honest review after playing the season pretty much every single day since the launch of the season. If you guys like these type of videos, do me a solid favor. Hit that like button right now and look down below. Are you subscribed to this channel? If you're not, click subscribe so we can get to that 14.2, not 14. Oh my God. One day, 4.2 million subs. And if you want to support me, use creator code SypherPK in the item shop. Let's get into this Season 3 review. Okay, guys? Season 3 is out, and I've been playing it for the past week and a half. To start the video off on a good note, I'm going to talk about the things that I like this season, the things that I think that were done well. Before I talk about the cons, let's get into it. All right, the new map changes I think are personally fantastic. I thought initially that the whole flood would be a problem for building and whatnot. There are times where rotation is a little bit awkward, but I think there's just enough water where it doesn't completely destroy the element of Fortnite. And the fact that the water is going to start receding, and we're going to discover new POIs and different changes to the map, and eventually get back to like a more full ground map, is a very unique way of implementing changes throughout the season and keeping the map fresh. So I think the map overall is a big W. The new POIs, they have good layouts. They have good builds. There are a lot of areas, you know, in the past where when they've implemented them, like, for example, the Mega Mall or the Neo Tilted, it was really hard to build in those areas. It was very awkward. Your builds couldn't place, or your walls were like halfway in the ground and whatnot. They did a good job with the POIs, making them very friendly for the building grids. And overall, I've had a lot of fun landing in Caddy and some of the new areas, especially those islands around, you know, the west side of the map. The new mythic items. Okay, so we have some new mythic items. We have the grappler. We have a different version of the drum gun. We have the shockwave launcher and the kit, and then of course the AUG, the mythic burst, and the slurp, the chug jug. The mythic items are a lot better this season. They used to be very overpowered and very frustrating to go against last season. And while they are still strong and they're probably the strongest guns in the game, they're not as overpowered and they're not as game-changing, besides the shockwave launcher, which does really change up the pace of the game for you, and also the grappler as well. But even the current grappler is a lot more balanced than the previous grappler, because you can't just grapple up to somebody and shoot them in the face with your shotgun. It forces you to pull out a glider, which is a much more balanced version of the grappler. And then the drum gun, of course, is more balanced because it doesn't do as much damage headshot wise. So even though it's still very strong, it's not as strong as the old drum gun. It doesn't have as much DPS as well. And of course the chug jug, the AUG, all those other mythic weapons, they're strong, but they don't break the game. So I think they did a really good job of keeping the mythic items while also not, you know, making them broken like previous seasons. Okay. The headshot nerf, like I said, across the board, headshots are less damage for TACs, for ARs, for SMGs. And I think this is a great change. I think getting beamed from distance, especially when it's just random bloom, shouldn't do as much damage as it has in the past. Getting like a lucky double or triple headshot, it's still rewarding, but you don't completely end the fight with one lucky, you know, triple burst, for example, where it hits everyone in the head. So I'm a fan of the change. I think the pacing of the individual fights is a little bit better. You don't reward those random headshots as much. The battle pass overall has been pretty well received. I'm a fan of the battle pass. I like the skins that they added. I'm excited to be able to play as Aquaman. I think that's a cool secret skin that they're adding in as well. So the battle pass overall has been spectacular. Can't complain. Big W. The new mobility is awesome. The whirlpool is great. The sharks, I'm gonna say it's a W. It's definitely a good change. It's definitely a big win that we actually have some mobility. I've just personally have barely used the sharks. Okay, just having to have a fishing rod while using the sharks, I feel like is the reason why I haven't used it too much. If I could use a harpoon to use the sharks' mobility, I think I would use it more often. New floating boat. The one that we made a video about where it spawns in different parts of the map. That's the first time they've ever done anything like this. I like when Epic thinks outside the box and adds unique things that kind of, you know, it has a little bit of a random element, but it's kind of like a really cool factor because it's not always in the same spot. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. It's got a lot of loot on it, so you know it's going to be contested when people do see it. Definitely a unique change that no one ever really asked for, but whenever Epic does something that we don't ask for but we end up really enjoying, that's like the best thing. It's like they come up with something that no one really thought about, they put it in the game, and a lot of people like it. I personally really like the secret boat. So big W on that. Big W on that. Hot peppers and just the whole fruit basket stuff. I honestly think there should be more fruit baskets. I looked at the map of where all the fruit baskets spawn, and there's like certain spots that have a lot of them, and then there's certain spots that just have none. I think everywhere there should be fruit baskets. I love the hot peppers for the speed bonus. I love all the extra little mushrooms and shields and bananas and coconuts and apples. Just being able to top off your health pretty consistently using those fruit baskets is amazing. And it's one of those things where we never really thought about it, but they implemented it and we liked it. So great stuff with the vegetables. The loot pool is a little bit better because there's a little bit more variety now. If you want to rock a sniper, a rapid fire, or a P90, if you want to run attack or a charge, there's a little bit more variety in the loot pool compared to last season. I feel like last season it was always like Scar, Pump, Grappler, or Drum Gun, and that was it. Some shields, you know, like there was really not a lot of variety. Now I kind of have myself a good variety of loot where I'm like, okay, do I want the hot peppers or do I want extra shields? Do I want to run no ARs and just run a rapid fire with a charged shotgun, or do I want to run AR rapid fire shotgun, or do I want to attack? There's a little bit more options. Still can use more in the variety of the loot, but it's definitely much better than last season. The new fire damage, it's kind of very small right now, but I think Epic is kind of leading into something bigger with the whole fire, environmental damage that we've seen with the fireflies and with the gas stations. Maybe more will come when the cars are in or whatnot, but we'll see. And then also the dragon shotgun that we talked about potentially will tie in with that. But it's interesting that they're trying to add some elemental aspects to the game, which we didn't have in the past, and now we do. So that's cool. That's interesting. I'm excited to see them build off on that. Like I said earlier, we have guaranteed map updates this season. There's been seasons where we got very little map updates throughout the season, but this season, since the water's going down, we're going to have new POIs. We're going to have new areas to discover pretty much every 2 weeks or so as the water starts to recede, which is awesome. I think it's going to recede pretty soon, so we'll have something to talk about in terms of like new areas that we've discovered. The aim assist nerf. I put this in the pros. I know some people might get upset. Overall, it was a strong nerf, but didn't completely ruin controller. I'm watching a lot of the top controller players. They're still doing really well. Hopefully this didn't affect console players too much, because honestly, console players were never the problem in terms of, you know, how strong aim assist was. Epic's communication this season has been awesome. They talked about the competitive changes, the supporter creator changes. They've been more vocal with some of the changes. They've been more vocal on Twitter and social media to update us about what's going on. That's great to see. Communication is up. RPGs, you don't find them too often. I rarely find RPGs, and that's great, because RPGs were a pain last season. You could pretty much get guaranteed RPGs like every match. This season, they're very rare to find, just like they should be, and I like that. Shields are also more common with all the extra, you know, the fruits and the different ways you can get your shield up, the splashes, the chug jug. Just additional ways to get your shield up is always a good thing. So that's great. All right. We're done with the pros. Now let's get into what we don't like about the season and what still needs to be changed in general for Fortnite, okay? But speaking directly on the season, the Marauders, okay? The Marauders are weird. I'm not going to lie. A lot of the times, they're not worth fighting. You're not going to really get a lot of loot out of them. And it takes a while to kill them. Like, there's like 5 or 6 of them. They are pretty aggressive. I've seen them like shoot double rockets at people. I've seen them, you know, of course, you know, they're the only way you can get, stink bombs, and, you know, sometimes they drop the purple and legendary hunting rifles. Sometimes they drop RPGs. But at the end of the day, especially in arena and competitive, they just don't have a place there because they aggro from really far distance and they attract people to third party while you're fighting them. And even in regular pubs, they can be kind of obnoxious when you're just trying to do your thing and they're shooting you out. I like the idea, but they need to behave in a way where they're not just like attacking you from 300 meters away and just basically chasing you across the map. You should be able to like choose if you want to engage with them or not. And if you're running away from them, they should kind of disengage relatively quickly, because I just feel like right now they're disturbing too much, and it's kind of random. And there's times where you're caught finding marauders while somebody's shooting you in the back, and it's just not a good feeling. The pace of the game is still very slow. If anything, it's even slower this season. You know, when I'm playing pub solos, before the first circle even closes, we've got like 10, 12 people left, 13, 14. I had a really bad scenario where there was only 5 people left shortly after the first circle closed, and it ended in a heal off. That's the worst part, is like those last 5 people dragged the game out to the very end, including myself. But that's the point. Is the pacing of the game is still very slow. The reason why people like Nick Mertz, like Tim the Tatman, even Ninja are not playing Fortnite as much is because they're getting the action that they would like to get out of Fortnite from other games. One of them in particular being Warzone. Of course, we talk about this a lot. They have, Warzone has more players. There's a lot more ways to get back into the action. 10, 15 minutes into a Warzone game, there's like 60, 70, 80 players alive. But on the other hand, with Fortnite, 10, 15 minutes into the game, there's only like 5 people left. Now, I don't like comparing the two games because they're both battle royales, but they both work differently. One has building, one's, Call of Duty. The point is, the pacing of Fortnite has been, slowing down over the past year. It's been a problem for a while. This is not a new problem. This season, it's even a little bit worse because of all the water. But the point is, Epic needs to do something about bringing up the action in pubs. I'm not talking about competitive, because at the end of the day, in like the true competitive lobbies, people will stay alive. And I'm not talking about arena. I'm talking about like in actual tournaments, people do stay alive, and there's a lot of action towards the end of the game. But in pub games, the lobby dies out pretty quickly. If you've ever landed somewhere that's uncontested and you loot for a few minutes, by the time you're done looting and you look at the amount of players left, you feel like you missed out on the game. You feel like you really didn't get any of the fun or any of the action, because there's only like 15 or 20 people left at most, and you spend most of the game running around looking for people instead of actually fighting and engaging in combat. The pacing is off. It needs to be buffed up, whether that's adding more players or making more ways for you to come back into the fight, making it easier to reboot players or bring back players. Whatever the case is, there's ideas out there that have been floated around from me and other streamers and other content creators and even community members, and hopefully Epic looks into it. Okay, I went off on that one, but the pacing is really important. Okay, skill-based matchmaking still is a bit problematic. It's not as bad as people make it seem, including myself, but a big problem is that if somebody hasn't played the game for a while, then they come back to the game and they used to be good, they get thrown against all the top players who have still been playing every single day, and it just kind of chases them away from the game in a sense. So skill-based matchmaking is still a little bit problematic. I think there's ways and unique ways that Epic can protect the newbie players or the new players, while also making the overall pub games feel more random and not be as strict, and not feel like the pub games are basically just arena without siphon. Charged shotgun. Okay, it's been a week. We've been playing with it, and it is my top pick. I always go for the charged shotgun. I have really not been messing with attack. I just can't stand the fact that attack does not do enough headshot damage. Okay, a gold tack does like 120 headshot damage if you hit every single shot to the face. Okay, the charged shotgun, I personally need it for the high hitting damage, but at the end of the day, the charged shotgun is just a weird pump. It's just a clunky pump. I still have times where I charge it and I think I shot, but I didn't shoot. I still have times where I miss my shot because I'm charging it, or it's just weird to use. At the end of the day, it's just not a fun gun to use. I understand it can be strong. You've seen me use it, in my videos and dominate with it, but it's not the change necessarily to the shotgun meta that I would like to see. I still think that the only charged shotgun that's worth using is the Mythic charged shotgun, which is why I always land caddy, because the 5 bullets, the 3 bullets on the other charged shotguns just doesn't cut it, especially when you're going against a really good player. So it still needs some changes. I'm not saying bring back the pump, but the charge needs some adjustment to make it fun to use. I'm not saying it needs to be stronger necessarily, but it needs to be more enjoyable to use. It needs to be more smooth and fluid. And right now, it's still clunky. Even after a week of using it, even though I feel like I'm really strong with it, it just doesn't feel right. And tacks are weak, man. Tacks, they're weak. But the state of shotguns are they're in a weird spot right now. Okay, you got to charge your shotgun to hit hard, and the attacks hit like wet noodles. It's strange. It's not a good. Shotguns right now are not in a good spot. That's why I like the rapid fire, because I don't care about the shotgun. I could miss my shotgun shot or only hit for 30 and pull out my rapid fire and just beam somebody down. So it is what it is. Even though the communication has been good, there's been a few patches that have happened unannounced. Like the Firefly jar, I woke up and I had no idea that it was happening. And a lot of content creators didn't know. So they didn't really give us like the patch that they were giving last season. Of like, okay, hey guys, a Firefly jar is coming to the game tomorrow. Be ready for it. They didn't. They just kind of put it in randomly, and I woke up panicking, trying to make a video about it. So hopefully they stick with the communication just a little bit more. But then on the other side, the people who have been frustrated the most right now have been the competitive players. Okay, so competitive players have a problem. Of course, the Marauders do not do well in scrims. You can use the Marauders for Storm Surge, which really sucks because Storm Surge is supposed to be about being aggressive towards players, not NPCs. I think that's going to be fixed, or it might have been fixed. And then you have the helicopters. People are abusing helicopters in arena to farm points, and also abusing helicopters in actual tournaments and scrims to make it to the late game. We have the same problem with the helicopters as we did with the airplanes, except the helicopters are actually better at staying alive to the end game, because the helicopters can stay until the circle becomes really small because they're very easy to control. The planes, you used to have to jump out of the planes as the circle started getting smaller, because you can't just keep turning because you'll dive into the storm. But the helicopters, a lot of them, if you're in a high point arena lobby and you look up, there's usually 4 or 5 helicopters just floating around. So what happened is that Epic made a bunch of changes and added a lot of new stuff, but they also added it directly into competitive. Usually, so when a new item comes, Epic has said that they wait 2 weeks, and during those 2 weeks they decide, should this item go to arena or not? But with the new season, everything just went to arena and everything went to the pubs, and some things honestly don't need to be in pubs. I mean, in arena, like helicopters need to work differently in arena or just not exist. There's a few different things that just like for the crash pads, for example, seem to be problematic in arena. I'm not sure. I haven't really been doing a lot of scrims or whatnot. But the point is, a lot of competitive players are a bit upset because it's kind of disturbing the flow of the game. And we'll see how they address that. Tournaments are coming up soon, so hopefully some of that stuff gets sorted out. To finish off the video, I just want to talk about things that I actually want in the game, hopefully soon. I would like some things added to the game. I would like some weapons added to the game. One of them being the flintlock pistol, and the other one being traps. Listen, like, I think if they brought back traps and they nerfed the damage on them and they made them to where they can't activate if you defeat the player who placed them, it would be balanced enough, and they would kind of prevent some of the psychos from jumping into your box, but not too strong to where they're just like overpowered. The flintlock is one of my favorite weapons to use. I like the mobility. I like the high hitting damage that it does. And then of course, like I said, I hope they up the player count in pub lobbies, or make it to where there's more people. It's easier to get brought back into the game, whether that's a gulag system or revamping the reboot system. Point is, the pacing of the game is slow. It needs to be sped up so there's more action, so more people want to play it, especially my streamer friends that don't really play the game anymore, so that they can get back on it. But yeah, guys, overall this season has been spectacular. A big W. I really like what Epic is doing. I think this is a lot of steps in the right direction. Just a few missteps, but overall, I would say it's like an 8 out of 10. And depending on how the rest of the season goes, it could either go up or down. And I'll keep you guys up to date with how I feel about the season. But this has been a great change. It's great to see that Epic is actually listening to the community and making changes that we want to see. I'm excited. I'm ready to make some more content for you guys. Make sure you like this video, hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Let's go! The movement, the precision.